Once upon a time, in the city of London, there lived the Darling family. They were a happy and loving family. Mr. and Mrs. Darling had 3 wonderful children: Wendy, the eldest, and her younger brothers, John and Michael. Wendy was a kind and caring girl who always looked after her brothers and told them bedtime stories every night. They even had a very special nanny. But she wasn't a person, she was a large Newfoundland dog named Nana. Nana loved the children very much. She made sure they were safe, clean, and always in bed on time. Every night, before sleeping, Wendy would gaze out the window and dream about Peter Pan, the boy who never grew up. She told stories of his adventures in a magical island called Neverland, filled with fairies, mermaids, and pirates. One night, Mr. and Mrs. Darling dressed up to attend a party. John, Michael, Wendy were leaving now, said their mother. The children kissed their parents goodnight and went upstairs to their bedroom. Soon, they were fast asleep. Outside, the moonlight shone bright, and a soft breeze moved the curtains. Suddenly, a sparkle of light appeared near the roof. It was Peter Pan and his tiny glowing fairy friend, Tinkerbell. They quietly flew into the children's room. Peter whispered, "Shh, Tink, don't make noise. We must find my shadow. It slipped away last time I was here." Tinkerbell darted around, knocking over objects and making tiny bells ring. "Tink," Peter said, "be quiet. You'll wake them." She flew to a drawer and pointed. Peter opened it and there was his shadow, folded like a black scarf. Peter tried to stick it back on using soap, then tried to tie it with a thread, but nothing worked. "Oh, why won't you stay with me?" he sighed. Then a soft voice spoke. "Who are you?" asked Wendy, sitting up in bed. Peter turned, startled. "I'm Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up. I came for my shadow." Wendy smiled. "Let me help you." She took a needle and thread and carefully sewed the shadow back to his feet. When she finished, Peter jumped happily. "Oh, thank you, Wendy. Now my shadow belongs to me again." While Wendy sewed, Peter told her stories about Neverland, the island where he lived with his friends, the Lost Boys. He was their leader and told them bedtime stories, just like Wendy did for her brothers. Tinkerbell, however, didn't like how friendly Wendy was becoming with Peter. Her tiny face turned red with jealousy. "Wow," said Wendy, "you live such an exciting life. I wish I could see Neverland someday." Peter smiled. "Then come with me. You can tell stories to the Lost Boys and be their mother." "Can John and Michael come too?" Wendy asked. "Of course," said Peter. "We'll all go together." Peter gave Wendy a small walnut pendant as a thank you gift. "This will protect you," he said. Then he woke John and Michael. "Wake up! We're going to Neverland." "Neverland?" they shouted, full of excitement. "But we can't fly," said John. Peter laughed. "Oh yes, you can. You just need faith, trust, and a little bit of pixie dust." Tinkerbell hesitated, still a little jealous, but she sprinkled golden dust over them anyway. Peter said, "Now think happy thoughts flying, laughter, dreams." The children began to lift off the ground. "Look, we're flying," cried Michael, giggling. "Higher, higher," shouted John as they floated through the open window. They soared over the rooftops of London, past the shining river, and by the glowing clock tower of Big Ben. Below them, the city lights sparkled like stars. Above them, the real stars guided the way to Neverland. Seconds starred to the right, and straight on till morning. Peter called out as they flew into the clouds. As the sun rose, the clouds parted and the children gasped. "Look, there it is," shouted Wendy. Beneath them was a magical island filled with color forests, waterfalls, mountains, and golden beaches. "That's Neverland," Peter said proudly. "Our home, and the land of endless adventure." The children landed softly on the clouds, staring in wonder at the beautiful island below. "Down there is Mermaid Lagoon," Peter said, pointing to the sparkling blue water full of mermaids. "And over there, you can see the smoke rising from the Indian camp. Those are the brave Red Indians. But the most dangerous place of all," Peter whispered, "is the ship that sails by the bay." The ship was called the Jolly Roger, and on board lived the wicked pirate Captain James Hook. Hook had a black beard, a long red coat, and a sharp metal hook in place of his right hand. Peter had cut off Hook's hand in a sword fight long ago, and since then they were sworn enemies. The hand had been eaten by a giant crocodile, who liked the taste so much that it followed Hook everywhere. Luckily for Hook, the crocodile had swallowed a ticking clock, so he could always hear it coming tick, tock, tick, tock. That very moment, Hook stood on his deck, staring through a spyglass. "There he is, Peter Pan," he roared. "Prepare the cannon. Aim at the clouds," he ordered. The pirates loaded the cannon and fired with a thunderous boom. A dark cannonball flew through the sky, whizzing past Wendy's ear. "What was that?" shouted John. "That's not a ball, it's a cannonball," cried Peter. "Take cover, Tink. Get the kids to safety." Tinkerbell, still upset with Wendy, grabbed John and Michael by the hands and flew them quickly toward the shore. "Wait for me," shouted Wendy, still dodging the cannonballs high in the air. Meanwhile, Peter flew straight at the pirate ship, calling out, "Come on, Hook. Do you want another hand to match your hook?" Hook pulled out his gun and fired, but Peter moved so fast that every bullet missed. Back on the island, Tinkerbell landed John and Michael safely among the trees, but she had a wicked idea. She flew to the lost boys, who were hiding nearby. "Boys," she said, "Peter has ordered you to shoot down a bird." "A bird?" asked Slightly. "Yes," said Tinkerbell. "A large, white bird flying this way. It's dangerous." The lost boys, believing her, grabbed their bows and arrows and waited for the bird. High above, Wendy was still searching for Peter. "Peter, John, Michael, where are you?" she cried. Just then, one of the boys saw her silhouette in the sky. "There? That must be the bird," shouted Nibs. He pulled back his bow and released the arrow. It flew straight toward Wendy and struck her in the chest. "Oh no!" she gasped as she fell gently down into the bushes below. The boys ran to see what they had shot. "She's not a bird, she's a girl," cried Curly. "A beautiful girl." Tinkerbell hid behind a tree, suddenly realizing her jealousy had gone too far. A moment later, Peter landed beside them. "What happened? Who shot this arrow?" Toodles stepped forward. "We thought she was a bird. Tinkerbell told us it was your order." Peter's face darkened. "Tink, wherever you are, stay hidden. Don't ever show yourself to me again." He knelt beside Wendy and gently pulled the arrow from her chest. But there was no blood. The arrow had struck the walnut pendant Peter had given her. It had saved her life. "Wendy, please wake up," Peter whispered. Slowly, her eyes fluttered open. "Peter, I was looking for you," she said weakly. "I'm here," Peter smiled. "You're safe now." The lost boys cheered. "She's alive! Hooray!" they cried. "Let's take her to our home." They carried Wendy carefully to their underground house and laid her in a soft bed made of leaves. When she woke fully, the boys gathered around. "Please, tell us a story, Wendy," they begged. Wendy smiled warmly. "All right," she said. "Tonight, I will tell you the story of Cinderella." The lost boys listened with wide eyes as Wendy spoke of fairy godmothers, glass slippers, and true love. For the first time, Their little home was filled with peace, laughter, and the sound of Wendy's gentle voice. Outside, the moon shone brightly over Neverland, and even Peter Pan smiled, feeling something new happiness. The next morning, Peter woke everyone early. "Come on," he said. "Let's visit the Mermaid Lagoon." The children followed him through the forest until they reached the sparkling blue lagoon. The water shimmered under the sunlight, and beautiful mermaids swam gracefully among the rocks. They sang sweet songs and waved to Peter, who was their friend. "Hello, Peter," they called. Wendy and her brothers stared in amazement. "They're so beautiful," whispered Michael. Suddenly, one of the lost boys pointed toward the shore. "Look, pirates!" he shouted. Peter and Wendy ducked behind the rocks. They could see pirates dragging someone along the beach. It was Princess Tiger Lily, the daughter of the Indian chief. The pirates had tied her up. "Hook must have ordered this," Peter whispered. "We have to save her before the tide rises." Peter thought for a moment, then grinned. "I know just what to do." He flew high into the air and shouted in a deep voice that sounded exactly like Captain Hook. "Set her free at once, you fools. That's an order from your captain," he called. The pirates looked at each other in confusion. "But Captain, you said to keep her tied," said one. "Do as I say," Peter shouted again. "It's part of my new plan to catch Peter Pan." The pirates shrugged and tied Tiger Lily and ran off quickly before Hook could get angry again. Tiger Lily jumped into the water and swam to safety, calling, "Thank you, Peter Pan." From his ship, the real Captain Hook saw what had happened through his spyglass. He slammed his fist on the railing. "Curses! That boy tricked my crew again." Hook's eyes filled with fury. "Enough games. I'll capture Peter Pan and his friends once and for all." That night, back at the underground house, Wendy tucked the boys in and began a new story. "This story," she said softly, "is about 3 children who once lived in London. They left their home to visit a faraway land full of magic and adventure. Their parents missed them very much, waiting by the window every night for them to return." Her voice grew quiet. The children loved their adventures, but they never forgot their mother and father. The lost boys looked sad. "That sounds like us," said Slightly. "Do you think our mothers miss us too?" "I'm sure they do," Wendy answered. "No matter what, a mother always waits for her children." Silence filled the room. Even Peter, sitting apart, looked thoughtful but said nothing. After a moment, John spoke. "Maybe we should go home, Wendy. I miss father and mother." "Yes," said Michael. "I miss Nana too." Wendy nodded gently. "Then we'll go home tomorrow morning." The lost boys looked at one another. "Can we come too?" asked Curly. "We'd love to have a mother like you." "Of course you can," Wendy said with a smile. "We'll all go together." Everyone cheered, everyone except Peter Pan. He turned away and stared at the fire. "Peter," Wendy said softly, "won't you come with us? You could see our world too." Peter shook his head. "No, Wendy, you'll all grow up someday. I don't want to live where people grow old." Wendy looked at him sadly. "But Peter, growing up isn't so bad. You still keep your heart young." Peter forced a smile. "Maybe, but I want to stay a boy forever, free and wild." As the others slept, Peter sat alone, watching the stars, wondering if he had made the right choice. Down by the shore, a dark shadow moved quietly through the fog. It was Captain Hook and his pirates. "Tonight," Hook whispered, "we strike. Capture them all and bring them to the ship." While the children slept peacefully, the pirates crept into the forest, ropes in hand. By morning, when the first light touched the trees, the house was empty. The children were gone. When Peter woke up, he found the underground house silent. "Wendy," he called. John? Michael? No one answered. The beds were empty, and the forest felt strangely quiet. Then Tinkerbell flew in, her light flickering fast. Peter, the pirates have taken them. Peter's eyes burned with anger. Hook, he growled. This time, he's gone too far. He tightened his sword, took a deep breath, and said, "Let's go, Tink. We're bringing them back." Meanwhile, aboard the Jolly Roger, the pirates laughed loudly. "Soon they'll walk the plank," said Smee. Wendy stood bravely at the edge of the deck. "Peter will save us," she said firmly. Hook sneered. "You're Peter Pan. He's finished. When I'm done with him, he'll be fish food." Just then, a faint bell rang in the distance, Tinkerbell's signal. Hook looked up sharply. Suddenly, a shadow flew across the sky and landed on the mast. It was Peter Pan. "Did you miss me, Hook?" Peter called, grinning. The pirates gasped in surprise. "Get him!" Hook shouted. Swords clashed, ropes swung, and chaos filled the ship. Peter fought bravely, dodging blades and laughing as he flew just out of reach. Tinkerbell sprinkled fairy dust, helping the lost boys fly again. "Let's fight!" cried Nibs. The sky above the ship sparkled with light as the boys and pirates battled fiercely. Hook swung his sword at Peter. "You won't escape this time," he shouted. Peter parried every blow with lightning speed. "Old man, you talk too much," he teased. Then, with a clever twist, Peter disarmed Hook, sending his sword flying into the air. Hook stumbled backward right toward the edge of the ship. Below, the sea roared and the crocodile waited, its jaws open wide. "Not again!" screamed Hook as he lost his balance and fell into the water. The crocodile snapped its teeth. Hook's scream echoed, fading into the distance. The pirates, terrified, jumped overboard and swam away. The Jolly Roger was theirs. Peter stood proudly at the helm. "This ship now belongs to us. Let's sail home." The children cheered as the sails filled with wind and the ship lifted gently into the air. Guided by Tinkerbell's light, the flying ship soared above the clouds toward London. Soon, they saw the familiar rooftops and Big Ben shining in the moonlight. The ship landed quietly outside the darling home. Wendy looked through the window. Inside, their parents sat by the fire, still waiting, just as she had told in her story. "John, Michael," Wendy whispered, "we're home." They flew down softly and ran into their parents' arms. "Mother, Father," they cried. Mrs. Darling held them close, tears in her eyes. "Oh, my children, I knew you'd come back." The lost boys stood shyly at the door. "May we stay too?" they asked. "Of course," said Mrs. Darling warmly. "You'll always have a home here." Wendy turned back toward the window. Peter hovered outside, watching silently. "Aren't you coming in?" she asked softly. "You could stay with us." Peter smiled sadly. "I can't, Wendy. I belong to Neverland, but I'll visit you again." A single tear glimmered in Wendy's eyes. "I'll wait for you, Peter Pan." Peter tipped his hat, turned toward the stars, and flew off into the night sky. As he disappeared among the clouds, Wendy whispered, "He'll always be my Peter Pan." And somewhere in Neverland, the sound of laughter echoed again, free and eternal.